Good evening. This is Rudy Giuliani back with you again on the Rudy Giuliani Show on LindellTV. And I am my second day home now after my accident and the fractured vertebrae. And as you can see, I have my Superman outfit on here. I'll stand up later and I'll show it to you. It's quite a thing. And it is enormously effective, I must say. It looks rather uncomfortable. It is not. It is rather comfortable. And it's like holding everything together tighter. And it helps both with the healing and with the pain. And I must say, everything the doctors and nurses told me would happen happened on schedule. And isn't that comforting that that's the case? You know, that's not always the case, and it's not always the doctor or nurse's fault because illnesses take their own course. They don't all follow the textbook. But this one, I guess, did. And when they said, oh, you're going to feel worse the second morning, I woke up yesterday morning, I was in writhing pain. But they said after a few hours, it'll start to settle. And it did. Today, it was considerably less, still there, but considerably less. And although I probably would consider the pain now very, very bad, when I compare it to yesterday, the day before, it's all relative, right? I'm saying, okay, I can take this. This is all right. Good. Hopefully it'll get even better than that. But in any event, I was involved. I was trying to figure out when I first got involved deeply in drug enforcement. And it would have been officially really in 1970 when I became an assistant U.S. attorney. So isn't that 30, 40, 50, 55 years ago? Before that, I had some involvement in it because as a clerk, Judge McMahon had one very, very big and then a couple of smaller drug cases, importation cases. And my wife was a drug rehabilitation counselor. So I got involved to some extent on both ends of it, right? And always throughout all those years, including the programs that I ran, I eventually became the chief of the narcotics division in the U.S. Attorney's Office. I formulated the U.S. Attorney, DEA, FBI task forces with local police on organized crime, but focused on drugs. And they're still in operation, and I still meet people that remember that I started it. And they had a big impact, I think, on drugs throughout America. I worked very, very hard on the major effort that was made over 4 or 5 different administrations, Republican and Democrat, to get rid of the drug cartels in Colombia. Also the FARC, kind of part of that, with which we had great success. In fact, it's one of the reasons why you now have Mexican cartels. The Mexican cartels were almost people that were just used by the Colombian cartels as a second level group. Now they're easily as strong, if not stronger, than the current Colombian cartels. But all through those years, including, you remember the Nancy Reagan Just Say No campaign, I was somewhat part of that because I was in charge of the Justice Department's response during that period of time to drugs and narcotics. And of course, all through that time, well before that even, it was always referred to as the war on drugs. And very often I can think of a dozen articles criticizing, it's calling it a war on drugs from all different perspectives. But most often that it wasn't, because not enough was committed to it. We just did it half-heartedly. I do not think that was true during the Reagan administration. I really don't. We used every resource of the government to try to limit drugs, and it had an impact. And it sure wasn't true for me When I was mayor of New York, my CompStat program and drug reduction program focused a lot around drugs as the fulcrum around which crime circulated. But there also used to be, well, we're not using the military, and we should. It's a national security problem, not within the United States using the military, but outside the United States. These are foreign attacks on the United States. Surely that became obvious with China's role in fentanyl, which I believe China is doing for reasons that have to do with defeating the United States over a long period. Just think of it. Through the use of fentanyl, China is able to assure that it's going to kill. Well, this year they're going to be surprised. But under Biden, minimum 70,000, maximum 120,000 a year. Most wars, you don't get that number. And they get that number without having to take the risk of counterattack, killing their own troops, losing arms. In fact, they make billions from it, and they secure the loss of significant numbers of young American lives, many of whom that could be used to defend us against China. And they deteriorate our society per Karl Marx. They destroy the morality and the discipline and the strength of our society, which is a goal of communism. And you can see within America that they're achieving that goal. So when they used to say war against it, it was always thought of, as an exaggeration that we should have, but we didn't declare war on the foreign drug dealers. Well, President Reagan had an unbelievably strong view about drugs, driven somewhat by Nancy Reagan, because when I proposed the task forces in the big cities that had drug problems, we needed, if I recall correctly, about $250 million more in our budget in order to start it. And we were at a time of austerity. We were at a time in which the president was doing 10 and 15% cuts in every agency. So we had to go to him, and the only way you could get that change was make the appeal directly to him, with the entire cabinet. The cabinet members that are all concerned with the budget, including Stockman, who was tough as hell. And you had to convince him that this was a priority, beyond any other. And I would say we had attempted it on a few other things, maybe immigration and other things, and failed. Others are the cabinet members that we kept in contact with, the Attorney General and his assistants like me, were failing constantly, no matter what. Stockman would win. And of course, he was doing his job. Maybe at the time there was a lot of anger toward him, but we understood what he was trying to do. We had a tremendous deficit. We had a tremendous problem, and we had to straighten out the economy. But of course, all of us in our agencies thought that our situation should be a priority. And I and my boss, Bill Smith, and my other boss, Ed Schmaltz, and all the people that worked for me thought drugs should be one of those priorities. So we put together a violent crime task force. We spent a year and a half traveling the country, taking testimony about what could be done about violent crime. What could the federal government do to help local governments combat crime? And instead of having these recalcitrant Democrats who seem to not give a damn about the good of their citizens, they just want to make sure Republicans fail. We had just as many Republicans cooperating as Democrats. We got a great reception from the Democrat mayors. They were more than thankful that we wanted to help. And they gave us some very practical suggestions of things that they needed. And that was put in the report, and they got them right away. And then the long-term things that they needed. But one of the things that was suggested was the use of the military. And of course, legally, that was very, very tough. And even the use of the military overseas becomes tough if it's a law enforcement problem. Now President Trump has figured a very, very good way around that. And when I say around it, I don't mean disregarding it or making a mockery of the law. I mean, realizing an interpretation of the law that is fully justifiable, which is that these groups are terrorist groups, narco-terrorist groups, and they pose at the level at which they're doing it, Colombian groups, the Mexican groups, the Venezuelan groups, the tie-in to China, a national security problem. And therefore, it is perfectly appropriate outside the confines of the United States to use our military to deal with it. And we sure did a good job the other day in Venezuela. I don't know if it was the first. It's the first one that we've highlighted. But the United States took out a boat with 11 terrorists and with a major amount of fentanyl. It was a lethal strike described by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who, by the way, as a senator from Florida, is more than an expert on drugs. He knows this issue very, very well. I've worked with Marco on this. And they just took the boat out, and into the ocean went fentanyl. Bye-bye. Hundreds of millions of dollars probably of fentanyl. And it was positively identified as a narco-terrorist group connected to Tren de Aragua, the organization we heard nothing about until about 3 years ago, who came into the United States with personally engraved invitations from Joseph Demented Biden, and an organization that the left-wing press and the left-wing law enforcement denied the existence of for some time, including in Colorado, Governor Feliz Navidad and the silly mayor of Denver. There you see the boat, Ted. Is that right? Is that the boat?
This is the unclassified footage from the United States government of the strike
containing the fentanyl.
Watch, and wait.
Obviously, good intel. Well, that was the boat. That was the boat containing the fentanyl, and now that boat has been rendered gone. The 11 people on it, don't worry about it. They were all identified, they were known, and they were all members of Tren de Aragua, like so many that we arrest now in the United States, thanks to the Democrat Party. Now, you see that boat there with all that fentanyl coming in, that probably is definitely going to kill a certain number of people. You never know with fentanyl what the numbers are going to be, but they get laced into the drugs. And the problem with fentanyl, and now with the new versions that are even more sensitive, is that the slightest mistake, and you can kill somebody because it's so powerful. I mean, a drug dealers are very aware of the fact, and this is one of the reasons why the drug traffic makes so much money, that with good quality narcotics, you can cut it. Cut it means you can bring in a small amount, and then you can add ingredients that stretch it out. So let's say you can bring in a pound of marijuana or a pound of heroin, and you can have 10 pounds or 15, depending on how strong the drug is in the first place, and how good the drug is in the first place. Or items makes it even more powerful. Or if you make a mistake so powerful that it'll kill you on the spot. People have died of overdoses from marijuana due to fentanyl, which is why marijuana is so much more of a dangerous drug right now. Well, we have on the line with us, we haven't seen her in a few days, so we miss her. and I'm sure you do, our correspondent from the White House, Kara Castronova, and there she is,
Hey.
right at the new, soon-to-be redesigned White House. You're on a construction site,
Yes,
Kara. Where's your hat?
I am. Still looks beautiful, but I know that President Trump does want to put work into it because he's always wanting to make things better, Mr. Mayor. And I'm so glad that you're okay. I was praying for you, and so many other people were
I
praying for
know, and
you in
thank
your
you. Thank
accident.
you for your good wishes and all. I really appreciate it. It really means a lot. You know how much we all love you. Now, Kara, I would be careful where I stand because President Donald Trump, could come along and give you a ticket for not having the proper helmet. He's very serious about that
I
stuff.
know.
Brings him back
Well,
to
then
his
he would
old
have to give
days when he was
everybody.
a kid. Yeah,
Right.
we're going to go through that phase where everybody's going to have to wear the helmet, and he's going to start getting obsessive about it. I know it.
We'll see. That will be
So
interesting. I
what's
think
going on?
we'll see who complies. Well, the president of Poland was here today, President Karol Nawrocki, and he visited today. This was his real first visit to Washington, D.C. As you know, he's new in office. This is actually his first official foreign trip, and him and the president really enjoyed each other's company. Very similar messaging. He actually ran a campaign very similar to President Trump, a Poland first. He sort of was inspired by President Trump, who actually endorsed him, which is very rare for President Trump to endorse any
I
international
do remember
leaders.
that. Yes, yes.
Yes. He very much admires President Trump. They're both similar. They're both very blunt. They both brand themselves as defenders of their nation's sovereignty against the global elites, and their America first and Poland first sort of ideologies mirror each other. So they're very similar in many ways. The same height, I noticed. Generally, President Trump is the taller whenever he comes here and shakes hands with the world leader, but they were the same height. That was notable to me, actually, Mr. Mayor. But they actually flew out some fighter jets today to honor the president because a Polish fighter jet pilot died recently. So that was pretty spectacular to see. So I have some footage right there of the two presidents viewing those fighter jets in the sky, flying right over the White House from today. As you could see, it was beautiful.
When did the
That was really
when did the Polish pilot die, Kara? How did it happen? A training mission?
you could listen to President Trump discuss that with the Polish president. I have the soundbite here. This was in the Oval Office today.
Oh,
Please
good.
take a listen, Mr. Mayor.
And the flyover was very much in honor of your great pilot who just passed away recently, who was a legend in Poland. You might want to say something about him.
Yes, of course, it was a terrific accident in Poland. Thank you for this gesture that F-35 opened our meeting. Major Krakowian was one of the best Polish pilots, well-honed Polish pilots, and he died. He lost 2 children, so it was a great tragedy in
He was a legend in Poland.
What a shame. Well,
So-
we're going to give our thoughts and prayers to them because you and I, Kara, know that prayers are very valuable. A lot of Democrats make fun of us for that.
No, they definitely are valuable, Mr. Mayor. And I think President Trump agrees because he's been talking more about that lately. And here's another clip I have. This was a big state visit today. There was a lot of Polish press here. It was very crowded here at the White House. Just a basic welcome of the president of Poland from President Trump earlier in the White House, and really just giving him accolades for the great job that he's doing so far since he's taken office not too long ago.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to have President Nawrocki with us of Poland. He did a good job with that, right? Gave me a little different pronunciation. I said I want to get it perfect. Did I get it right?
Yeah,
Good.
good.
I better get it right. And the president's been amazing. He had an incredible race. He came from behind and he won very handily. The people of Poland have taken to him immediately. They really love him. And there's great love and respect. He's a very successful man, but he went into a political hatchet, so to speak. It was a pretty tough race, pretty nasty race, and he beat them all,
Yeah. So, Mr. Mayor, one of the interesting things I noticed about these Oval Office press briefings is you have these foreign leaders coming from all over the globe, and the reporters, including the foreign press that travels with that president, only has questions for President Trump. I'd say they give about 80% of the questions to President Trump, and virtually ignore these foreign leaders. Literally, it's incredible, really. So the president took a lot of questions today from various members of the press, talked about crime, talked about the Epstein files and that hearing today, and so many other topics. Here's the president talking about the soft on crime Democrats, which I know you talk a lot about as well, and how they're against preventing crime. Listen to President Trump.
This is the best issue of all. They are against preventing crime. They are fighting us. I want to go into Chicago, and I have this incompetent governor that doesn't want us. Do you know that this weekend 72 people were shot in Chicago? I'm embarrassed to say it in front of the president of Poland. 11 people were killed. 72 people were shot. Last week, 7 people were killed in Chicago, a place which is probably your number one place. I hate to say it.
Yeah, a lot of Poles in Chicago.
And we got to keep it safe. But 7 people were killed. The week before that, 5 people were killed, and 21 people were shot.
And Jeff Landry, the governor of, go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
I'm glad that the president is focusing on that. You know, Hannity and I, for a couple of years, were the two that used to report every Monday the number of killings in Chicago. The first thing we would do is get out the Tribune. He would separately. And we would say, 12 killings, 45 murders. The least I ever remember is 5 or 6. And I can remember 20 murders. And I can remember 100 shootings. I mean, it's absurd. This has been going on forever. And 90% black people. So when the president goes in there and cuts them down, he'll be saving the lives of black people. And the black mayor of the city doesn't seem to give a damn. How do you explain that?
It's incredible. And a lot of people have things to say about it. There's been pop-up protests outside the White House where somebody almost said that today, but they said it in a negative way. Why is the president going after cities with black mayors? It just so happens that those cities also have a lot of liberals and a lot of people that are African-American as well. And he's actually trying to save those people's lives. They're the ones who are most affected by the crime, as you know, Mr. Mayor. So it's interesting that people have that narrative. And as you know, the mayor, Muriel Bowser of D.C., is now agreeing with President Trump, saying that his policies are working and that more police are actually welcome now that she's seen the murder rate has dropped to basically 0. So that's good news that some Democrats are coming around, and maybe Chicago will be next. Maybe they will come around. We will have to wait and see. And then I have a couple more clips for you if you have the time about I know you know Monica Crowley. We have an interview with her coming up. She's a big fan of you, Mr. Mayor. And she's doing a great job here. So I have an interview with her at 7:30. But here is another clip. If you guys could cue up that other one in the Oval Office about U.S. patrol across America. The president is talking at that press briefing about. We already played that one. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. Go to the last one, guys. This is about Tren de Aragua, and I'm curious to know your opinion on that strike.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is about Tren de
massive
Aragua.
amounts of drugs. We have tapes of them speaking. It was massive amounts of drugs coming into our country to kill a lot of people. And everybody fully understands that. In fact, you see it. You see the bags of drugs all over the boat. And they were hit. Obviously, they won't be doing it again. And I think a lot of other people won't be doing it again when they watch that tape. They're going to say, let's not do this. We have to protect our country, and we're going to. Venezuela's been a very bad actor. They've been, as you know, they've been sending millions of people into our country, many of them Tren de Aragua, some of the worst gangs, some of the worst people anywhere in the world in terms of gangs. And we had some in Washington, D.C. We took care of them very quickly, but they're out of here. They've gone. But Venezuela's been very bad, both in terms of drugs and sending some of the worst criminals anywhere in the world into our country. They emptied out, you don't know this, but they emptied out their prisons in Venezuela, and they emptied them out into the United States of America. And that's part of the problem we have. We're getting them out. We're getting them out rapidly, but it's caused a tremendous problem. And Pete and all of the people that are working very hard to rectify the stupidity of the Biden administration, allowing these people to pour into our country with open borders. We are paying a big price as a country for the incompetence of the Biden administration. But think of it, opened up prisons, drug dealers, drug lords, everything coming out of Venezuela. They said, and we said, we're not going to put up with it anymore. So Venezuela has been one of the worst actors in the whole group, and we have a group of pretty bad actors.
Well, Kara, thank you very much. We've got to take a break. And as usual, that's a great report. Really terrific.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. God bless you and your health, and recover quickly.
Thank you so much, dear. Well, we'll be right back after these messages.
With everybody talking about making America healthy again, I thought today'd be a great day to talk to all my fellow patriots about the importance of making your homes healthy again. Well, we have proudly partnered with airwaterhealing.com and their revolutionary whole home air purification system. The V3 from Air Water Healing does 3,000 square feet of purification. It eliminates dust, mold, viruses, and odors. But here's the part I love. They require no filters to ever be changed and virtually no maintenance. Whether you suffer from asthma, allergies, seasonal bronchitis, or just want to protect your family from the flu or even greater threats, don't wait to get your V3 from airwaterhealing.com today. Use code Lindell for 20% off in savings and free shipping. That's promo code Lindell at airwaterhealing.com. Too many pharmacies and insurance companies are blocking the medications that actually work. That's why I recommend All Family Pharmacy. They give you access to treatments like ivermectin now, starting at just $2 a capsule. They also have methylene blue, hydroxychloroquine, and so much more. They're helping you stay prepared, and they've dropped their prices by 25%. Also use promo code Lindell10, you save even more. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Use promo code Lindell10 and get the medicine you need. Are you taking advantage of President Trump's golden age? Well, what if I told you you can just sit back and earn money as President Trump continues to repair our economy and make America energy independent again? I'm talking about oil royalty checks. With the help of the Oxford Club, thousands of Americans have unlocked this secret hack that has put money back in hard-working American pockets. Financial expert and LindellTV supporter Mark Lichtenfield has showed me how. It's a way to profit from America's energy production that's been working quietly for decades, even when oil companies were struggling. So go to LindellOilBoom.com to find out how this all works and why it's relevant right now. That's LindellOilBoom.com. Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family, feeling your best is the key to doing the things you love. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Nirvanta. It's a natural solution designed to help you stay active and live well naturally. Nirvanta is a topical blend of all natural essential oils like frankincense, myrrh, and a proprietary gold standard plant stock extract. It's perfect for your hands, feet, knees, back, or anywhere else that needs a little extra care. Use Nirvanta proactively as part of your daily maintenance routine, and you're guaranteed you're going to feel the difference. Simply massage Nirvanta in for at least 60 seconds, 2 to 3 times a day to get the best results. And if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back. No questions asked. There's simply no risk and no reason not to try Nirvanta today. Right now, you get 15% off with code Lindell exclusively at NirvantaHealth.com. So stop reaching out for that medicine cabinet. Get Nirvanta instead and experience the difference. Go to NirvantaHealth.com. Use code Lindell to get 15% off today. Nirvanta Health. Live well naturally.
Well, welcome back. And I think Kara did a good job of covering that Venezuela story. But I want you to get the significance of that, because I was pointing out that we always talked about the war on drugs and on narcotics, but it really was we never acted like it was a war. But now with the cartels really developing into paramilitary, if not military organizations, certainly terrorist organizations, we really have one hand tied behind our back if we don't start outside the United States treating it as a war. I mean, this is China. This is the Sinaloa cartel, the Golfo cartel, whatever cartel. It is possible from Venezuela with Trinidad, they're going to go around a cartel. They may or may not be working with a cartel. They do and they don't, depending on what kind of deal they make, which means they also end up, shooting and killing each other, which is one of the things that law enforcement gets the benefit of. They do reduce their ranks themselves. But hopefully this is the beginning of several of these, because this is what is needed to discourage them. The deterrent of criminal penalties doesn't work anymore because there are too many. I don't know how to describe judges that let criminals go free. Do you know how to describe them? Do we describe them as corrupt? Do we describe them as perverted? Do we describe them as stupid? Do we describe them as crazy, ideological, criminal-loving liberals? Do we describe them as communists? Do we describe them as nihilists? What we don't describe them as is a good, honest judge. But there are plenty of those, unfortunately, in America right now. So these people, they're going to have a judge. A judgment already took place. And I don't know what it is. It's a supernatural judgment. But it's certainly not going to clog our courthouses with all of their ridiculous claims that, I didn't know what I was doing and you didn't give me my rights. And they got their rights. They had the right to fill that boat up with fentanyl, and the United States of America had the right to blow them out of existence for doing it because it would kill kids. So if that's the norm that gets set, you'll see Donald Trump have an impact on this that no other president has ever had. So this is a big step. It is a change in tactic. It's perfectly legitimate, perfectly legal. It has been done before, but always on a small scale. Looks like we're going to do it until we win, which is the way to do it. And I'm looking forward to how it will also lead to the downfall of Maduro, which will start to move some of those other countries in South America away from China, away from Russia, and away from atheistic, nihilistic communism in South America, and away from communism. President Trump is said to have sidelined the National Security Council, and of course, you can feel a kind of a regret not horror in the New York Times. I mean, where they can get their leaks? No wonder they're not getting great leaks. The National Security Council doesn't know what's going on. The National Security Council in his first administration was made up of most of the people who were lying about him. The letter in which there was a total lie about his contact with President Zelensky was done in order to try to revive the first impeachment. And it was done by a guy who represented Biden in the National Security Council, participated in trying to dredge up dirty information, illegal information on people who were involved in the Trump campaign by misusing and illegally using the Ukraine police. And this guy's hanging around in the bowels of the National Security Council. And he writes a letter, which is actually, even the letter that he wrote is filled with lies. And then the guy who cheats on his mortgage application, Shifty Shift, lied even more about it. And when Trump finally put out the transcript, one didn't bear any relationship to the other. Shifty Shift went into the background, and then no one ever asked him to produce this whistleblower ever again. He was on the verge of producing him within 2 days. I was waiting for it because I knew damn well exactly who the guy was. I mean, the thing about dealing with Shifty Schiff and those guys is I dealt with some really, really smart lawyers, some of the best. They're silly little children. I don't even know what kind of prosecutors they were, second rate, third rate. The only reason Shifty Schiff gets away with it is because the press is dishonest. They would have laughed him out of town. How about I have the names of people that personally witnessed Trump involved in Russian collusion, personally were there and witnessed it. Now, he was really stupid because he not only did it on the floor of the Congress, which would have given him immunity, but he did it on television because Ted, I think he goes on television a lot because he's so ugly and he wants to compensate by being like, think of himself as there he is in Hollywood and he's like a mousy looking little guy and squirmy looking, has no masculinity to him at all. And so then he makes these big boasts and they turn out to be massive lies. But he sure gets away with it. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen a liar as bad as him get away with it like he does, unless they're at a very, very high level like Hillary Clinton or something.
I totally
also,
agree.
He gets away with it. You know, Bill Clinton always got away because he was so damn charming. Nothing charming about this guy. He's like a little rat weasel.
Your descriptions, per usual.
Squirming around, complaining, whining, lying. I have a list here. I have a list. See, I have a list right here. This is my list. Would you produce your list?
Isn't he supposed to be answering for, this is Shifty Schiff we're talking about?
Yeah.
Wasn't he lying about something about a mortgage? He's got some issues that he should be focused on.
I mean, this is terrible what Trump did to him. It's terrible. I mean, he should be allowed to lie on his mortgage applications. Why should he have to pay the same taxes you do?
And I think that those are some of the least of his crimes.
You and I are only entitled to one primary residence. And we have to list our primary residence. And we get to pay a lower tax on that residence than if we have a second or third or fourth or fifth. We also, if we're going to buy a primary residence, we can put down less money, less percentage, like maybe 5 or 10% instead of 20. And we will get a more favorable interest rate, maybe 3% instead of 5%, or depending on what the prevailing mortgage rate is at the time. So we are, by calling one thing a primary residence, we are depriving the bank and the government of legal income that they're entitled to if it isn't. Well, apparently Democrats have learned this schnorrer, cheating, lying, thieving process, and they must pass it around at Democratic meetings. It must be in the Democratic rule book, hidden away under Mortgage 302. Not a bad idea because you can get away with it. Republicans can't. Claim a couple of primary residences. And if you get caught, don't worry, the IRS is in our pocket. Well, now all of a sudden it's not. And we got 3 of them splashed across the newspapers. And Trump is in trouble because Trump caught them all for committing the same crime. It's because, you know why he's catching the Democrats committing crimes? Because a disproportionate number of Democrats are criminals. Oh. Look, in New York, if you have a party that has a big giant courthouse named after Boss Tweed, you don't have even a street named after the greatest mayor in its history, isn't there something wrong with you? I would like them to suggest a Democrat mayor that did as much for the city as I did. How about half as much? And New York is just when they take over cities, they go completely crooked. I don't know about the West. I used to think in the West it wasn't too bad. But I look at Los Angeles and San Francisco. San Francisco is a crooked city. Crooked as hell, has been for a long, long time. So the president has sidelined the National Security Council. He doesn't really listen to them much anymore, which is really good because most presidents never listen to them much. They just made believe they did and wasted time. And they are usually a bunch of people who are trying to feather their own nests and really worried about what kind of job are they going to get when they come out, and can they maintain their security clearance for life so they can trade it into Raytheon or somebody else. So he's sticking with the top people and the close people and not spreading it around, probably because they haven't been able to clean it out completely, and you don't know who's there. And that's also the way the Iranians had a couple of contacts in there that had to be thrown out, and the Chinese have contacts in there that they had it thrown out, had thrown out. So it's really much better for the security of the United States that they're not part of this. Have you watched carefully the mayor of Chicago? Now, are you good at picking out nitwits? I am. I think I would even take a shot at his IQ. Except I gotta to guess an IQ, I have to have something to work with. And with this guy, I got nothing to work with. He is a complete jackass. And it would be funny if he wasn't getting people killed. Now, let me tell you how he's getting people killed. We just have 2 weeks we'll talk about for a second. So 7 people got killed last weekend or the weekend before. 27 shot. This weekend, 11 people got killed, 54 shot. And exactly what did he do during the week so that the number would be less over the second weekend? He fought off Trump bringing in the National Guard because the city isn't in a crisis and they don't need it. I don't know, when you have murders and shootings every weekend for 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years, and you have no discernible impact on them of any kind, your city is an emergency. Your city is really gone. And you are a useless son of a bitch, completely useless. You should go home at night and pray to God to forgive you for all the damage you've done. And do you have I don't know that you should or you shouldn't. I guess it's impossible not to have a little special feeling for your own people, but you shouldn't prefer them. You should treat everybody equally. But there's nothing wrong if you feel more comfortable with, you feel a preference for, or you want to make sure that if you get in office, the fact that they've been ignored maybe by others that aren't them, and I'm talking about Black people, but I'm also talking about Hispanic people and Indian people and Irish people and Italian people. Nothing wrong with your looking after them. There's something wrong if you give them jobs that you don't give to somebody else. And I know you participate in that constantly because you're a miserable, dishonest creep. But do you know how many Black people you're getting killed? So when that number went from 7 to 11, 90% in both cases were Black people. I don't know if the Black people in Chicago know it, but you're like their worst enemy. If a Donald Trump came in there or an I did, you would accuse me of being a racist and everything else, except I'd be the one that saves the life of innocent Black people, and you're the one getting them killed. So tell me who the racist. Who's the racist? Me or you? Well, I don't know how you define racist, but the one who gets Black people killed seems to be the more dangerous one. Huh? And the one who saves Black lives seems to me to be the better one. In fact, you'll never get to the point where you're going and even getting close to the number of black lives that I saved. In fact, you're going to be working on Dinkins' record for the largest number of black killings in history. Now, because your city is smaller, you're probably not going to get there in terms of a gross number, but you're probably there per capita already. And I know black people, of course they have an affinity for their own people and have a hard time seeing this. But black politicians like you are the reason why black people in these cities that are so corrupt continue to be in submission and in a form of slavery. And you're the ones benefiting from it. I bet you're worth a couple million. I bet it. But you are. While your people are dying left and right, kids are getting shot left and right. You don't have time to think about the solutions to that, because then the people who are paying you off to be in office wouldn't be paying you off, like the teachers union. You'd be in favor of, how about accountability for teachers? How about charter schools? But you're not. You're in favor of the teachers union continuing to destroy your children. So I really do ask, how do you live with yourself? I don't know. I don't know how any of you liberals who do this live with yourself, because the obvious implications of your job is so obvious. Of course, you need the National Guard. You need the National Guard. You need the state police. You need whatever the hell you can get. And then I heard you once say, because you are a mental midget, when they said, don't you need extra police? And you said that police don't help in reducing crime. Where did you learn that? Where did that come from? I reduced crime with police before you were born. Bill Clinton, who was the president of your party, produced 100,000 new cops for America, and it reduced crime. Where did you, halfwit, come up with the idea that police don't reduce crime? Maybe they don't solve it long term, but they sure as hell reduce crime. What do you think happened in the District of Columbia when they had no murders for 12 days? District of Columbia, I may have the numbers slightly off, but think of it for purposes of comparison. District of Columbia had engaged in defunding the police, as you did, as all of the cities that knee-jerk reacted to George Floyd killing himself with a drug overdose. And you cut the police. New York cut $1 million out of the police budget. You cut down so that when I saw it the other day, the number of cops you cut, I was shocked. But you know what you did? You gave yourselves, you came down from something like 700 cops on patrol to 400. I know your city. You're going to leave large portions of your city completely unattended to if you only have 400 cops. Now, that was the same. I may have the numbers mixed up with Washington, but the percentage is about the same. So when Trump came in with the National Guard and the agents, he added on that 400 in Washington, 700 National Guard and 800 federal agents. So now every place they wanted to commit a crime, 700 national, 800. So now, what did they do? They didn't commit the crime. Hence, 80% reduction, 70% reduction, 60% reduction. I think rapes went up because rapes take place inside. And we can talk about that some other time because I am an expert in reducing crime. And you have to have a different strategy for indoor crime and outdoor crime. But I've always said, if you can't reduce outdoor crime, you can't reduce crime. There's something really stupid about you, because I can train a I can train a good, solid monkey on how to reduce outdoor crime. The National Guard should be deployed there. So they don't have to arrest anybody, just so they can stand around and support the police and the federal agents. They don't have to arrest anybody, but they have to be there so they can say, they're looting the store, come on over and arrest them. Don't come over after the looting is over. Or maybe they can hold them as they come running out of the store. A machine gun stuck in their bellies might do it, as opposed to every store moving out of Chicago. So you had a weekend, Labor Day, with a bloodbath, as you were telling us how safe Washington is. I mean, that's 54 incidents, 11 dead. My goodness. The New York Post says it very, very succinctly. High crime rates are a choice. Democrats choose high crime rates. You do. And if you look at the cities, there may be an exception here or there. But you've got the cities with all the crime. And when you say there are Republican states that have high crime, of course they have Democratic cities. I bet they'd love to throw them out. We can't finish this show without mentioning one of the worst judges that ever lived, Judge Boasberg, because the problems here are not just about the problems here.
Oh, there he is. We just lost half our audience.
There he is, yeah. There's Judge Boasberg. Judge Boasberg is the one who blocked Trump and had him wanted that guy Garcia to come back so he could beat up the girlfriend even more and beat up kids even more. He hadn't gotten his fill yet of committing crimes in America. Judge Boasberg is a silly, stupid liberal who obviously doesn't eat red meat. Look at his face. And
that's a great line.
And now he's done the unthinkable, for which he should be removed from the bench. He let Nathalie Rose Jones go free after she was arrested for threatening to kill Donald J. Trump. I literally told FBI in 5 states today that I'm willing to sacrificially kill the POTUS by disemboweling him and cutting out his trachea with Liz Cheney and all the affirmation present. Let's deal with this and restore domestic tranquility. She does have a history of schizophrenia and mental illness. She has done this threat on him, on others, numerous times. She gets arrested, and within a short period of time, she's returned to the streets. I assume after she kills President Trump, or attempts to, we will then arrest her. And maybe they are hoping, Boasberg and the other Democrats are hoping, that she'll be successful. There's no other way to interpret it. There is no reason why this woman shouldn't be involuntarily committed to a mental institution where she should be put maybe for the rest of her life. She is out of her effing mind, and she is obsessing about the idea of killing Donald Trump. Boasberg, what the hell is wrong with you? I get disbarred in the District of Columbia, and you're a judge there? And you put the life of the president in jeopardy? And I was trying to save the president? I don't get what kind of corrupt lawyers we have in New York and in Washington. That people like you get to practice law, and after 50 years of putting some of the worst criminals in jail, my life being threatened any number of times, I get disbarred by a bunch of crooks, which are the people that make up the Bar Association of New York, that allow a crooked judiciary to operate for 170 years, or in the district where they have freaks like you. You really are a horrible human being. Exactly why did you let her go? Is there a little thought there? Maybe you can get your nemesis killed? It sure looks that way. I mean, a lot of people will say, no, the judge wouldn't do that. The judge wouldn't do that. Haven't you figured out yet that judges are human beings? And they may disproportionately be a little more screwed up than most because they're treated like they're gods? Well, I don't know. If every time you come in, the room gets up, you're required to call them Your Honor. And if you don't, they put you in jail for contempt. Maybe you get to be screwed up. And then if people don't fit your insane criteria, you want to see them destroyed. I mean, I've seen you guys lose your temper in ways that are frightening as hell. And I've seen a woman judge who really is a disgrace. In fact, she was your predecessor as the chief judge. And you got a court there, District of Columbia, that should be thoroughly investigated. And maybe one or two of you should be retained, but most of you should be thrown the hell off the bench if we want to restore justice in America. You really are unbelievably awful judges. And letting her go, and she wants to kill the President of the United States. Well, we'll stop on that, and not much better we can do in pointing out the depravity of the Democratic Party than that. And we're going to go over to X, and we've got plenty more to cover. I'll give you a few more details on my accident and how we're getting over it, which I have my little thing here that I can actually get up and fly with it, and which makes it easy for me to walk. It's a rather interesting contraption. You can get up and go like that. Ted can describe how I go around the rooms that way. So we'll be on right now. So what do we say? God bless America.